and welcome back to My Artist Friend, the podcast about the artist behind the art. My name is Becky Helms. I am your host, and today we are going all the way to Australia to chat with my friend Renata of Gremren. Renata's work is so vibrant, so colorful, so full of life. Like, I love her work so much. It feels so unique. And when I came across her on TikTok on my For You page, I said, yes, please, more of this. She is incredibly well rounded. She does these amazing prints. You get to watch a lot of her process behind how she makes what she makes. She even talks a lot about rug tufting, which is something that she got into a few years ago. And it's such a good chat. She's amazing. If the audio sounds a little weird, it's because we were chatting from across the globe. And I only found out after that there was kind of a trick to doing that. So if you hear kind of some jumps or like a couple of awkward pauses, that was me trying to edit out the, oh, wait, what? Oh, no, what were you going to say? No, what? No, go ahead. So much of that. Oh, it felt so bad. But now I know how to do it. Now I know what I'm supposed to do for more chats from across the world. So hopefully I'll get to talk to some more folks around the planet. But please enjoy the chat with Renata of Gremren. Hi, Renata.
Hello, how's it going?
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm fresh. Like still pretty early in the morning here, so we've got a big day ahead of us. But so happy to be here, just having a little yap.
I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I was like, I can't stop myself from making the joke about speaking to the future.
Is this
You're a day
the
ahead.
most future you've spoken to on the podcast so far?
Absolutely, yes.
It's an honor. Trust me, it's good. You're gonna get here eventually. It's gonna be great.
I sure hope so. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about you because we started following each other maybe like a year or two ago. I found you on TikTok and I was like, I think it was TikTok first. And I was like, I love this chick's style. Everything she does, I'm obsessed with. And I would love to know more about like kind of how you started, how you kind of came into art in general, and kind of how you started your business.
Dude, absolutely. Well, I mean, I've always been like a very kind of arty girl, primary school, high school. That was always where I like gravitated towards, always where I put like kind of the majority of my effort. So always kind of had it in the little brain folds there a little bit. So when it was time to decide, what to do at university, it's always a bit of a difficult thing because people tell you, like if you're doing art, it's a very difficult thing to, proceed with as anything more than a hobby, which, I also had in high school. So what I decided to do at the time, I decided to try an industrial design course because back then I was like,
cool.
Yeah, it bit like off the left field of what I'm doing now. But at the time I was really into like hand sewing little like soft toys and stuff. That was my big creative thing at the time.
Love it.
Still like have it in my soul, but we shift, we change. So I tried that for a year, found out that industrial design is not quite designing toys. It is designing, like bridges and understanding like load strength, the different materials. And like the moment the math equations started coming out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna dip out of here. Respectfully. Love the engineers who can love the engineers who can figure this out. This is not my field. So my university also had a communication design course, which is like basically graphic design. And there's like kind of a little bit of an overlap between, industrial design and graphic design in the first year. Had enough like, little prerequisites to kind of just like shift over. And so did that for like, 3-4 years. Tried to get a job in graphic design, but it turns out there are people who are actually really passionate about graphic design and not just like, illustration and like fun, beautiful colors and stuff. So they get the good jobs, and
Mhm.
I ended up in printing, doing like pre-press work, which was still incredibly informative, really very,
Yeah.
really helpful as far as like, like print production processes, understanding like spot colors, Pantones, setting up files, like very helpful for that. But it wasn't what I wanted
Yeah,
to do.
that's fantastic foundational
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you can understand that, like, kind of the setting up of files and kind of the technical side of things. It's something that hits a lot of people hard when they start doing, like professional, like independent artwork.
100%.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, like, I did that, which was excellent, but it still wasn't quite right. There was still something inside of me that I was like, nah, not quite what I want to do. And so I went back to what I wanted to do in the first place, like, drawing and creating. And I started doing that, nights and weekends. And even if it wasn't very
Mhm.
good, I would just, I'd post to Instagram like every single day. That was my thing. I was like, every single day I'll post something. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just something. And I was doing that for about
Yeah.
maybe a year and a half, I would say. And then I hit like my first 1,000 followers. And then I think a month after that, I hit my first like 10,000 followers, which was insane. So excited. From there, it was essentially like, the ball started to roll. And I was like, oh my gosh, this could be a thing. Kept pushing that ball down the hill. And, I eventually went part-time at my job. And then I decided to take the leap. And I was like, hey, this could be a thing. And this is the best time to ever try. And so, yeah, here we are now. Long story short.
That's amazing. I love the just kind of the steady climb, because even the stuff that didn't quite work out still gave you like really good foundations to build upon for what
Oh,
you're doing. And I think that's
absolutely.
fantastic. Like, I did graphic design in school too, and while it's not what I ended up actually doing, like the stuff I learned was so important to like getting my website, having it be functional. Like,
Oh, absolutely. There's like the fundamental design, like elements and principles that you get to learn and kind of like mess around with in courses like that. Even if that's not where you go at the end of the day, it's still hugely informative, like, in the rest of your life. It's one of those things that's just like, no matter
yeah,
what you do, as long as you're doing something, it's going to carry you forward. It's going to inform you in some way. So, like, even if someone
yeah,
isn't where they want to be right now, I still think, they're doing something, and I think that's excellent.
yeah, that's the thing. I feel like that's been kind of a through line in the conversations I've been having, is like,
Yeah.
just do the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to do something. You just have to put it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have
Yeah.
to overthink it. Like,
Mm.
you just have to put it out and get it done. And then you
Mm.
can move forward and improve and grow, but you can't, what is it? They say you can't edit a blank page,
Yes.
in
Oh,
writing.
so true. So true. Yeah. I know it's scary, but it's just
Oh,
like,
so
just do
good.
something. Just figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with social media. Like, you never know who's going to
Mm.
see what. It's such a, like, the algorithms are madness anyway. You can't control that, but you can control what you put out and, like,
Oh, yeah.
the things
Yeah,
that you
no, I am
do.
beyond the point where I'm trying to think of, what's the best like strategy to like, do my social media? What's the, strategies are out the
Mhm.
window at this point. It's just like, what do I want to do? What do I think is really cool and fun? Done. Let's put that to print.
Yes. And I have to say, I love following you on Instagram, TikTok. Your videos are always so fun, and they're so like I love when you do recaps of shows and things. Like, they're very real. Like, you're not going to just do this quippy, quick, like, here's this thing and blah blah blah. Like, I don't know, make it social media-y. You're like, no, this is how it
Yeah.
was, and this might have sucked. And this was really awesome. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I just don't have like the time or the bandwidth to kind of be all like, media strategy on these videos and the things that I post. It's just like I figure the people who follow me follow me because they want to see what I do and, you know, what I create and what's going on. And they don't really care if I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, optimizing my like SEO, like, you know, keywords or whatever. It's just such a like, it's
Yes.
not that important. Just show that you're like a human being. You know what I mean?
Yes, I just want to see real humans. It's come to the point, like if I'm scrolling through Reels or TikTok and I hear like one of the robo voices, or I hear someone who's like sped up their audio so much to fit in all their CTAs in the beginning, and I'm like, get out of here. I can't.
Oh yeah, I get it. I understand the process, and at times I'm like, I wish I had that, like, you know, like the little 10-second quip at like the start of the video that like always like hooks people in or whatever. I admire people who can do that, but you don't need to. You never need to do that.
No, I think it's fine. I love seeing real people on the internet just existing and doing their thing. That's my favorite.
It's just refreshing.
What is kind of your relationship to social media as someone? I feel like a lot of artists would see you with your enormous following and be like, oh, everything must be perfect. And, you know, everything she does, you know, makes sales. And I feel like anytime someone would see like someone's numbers go up, they're like, well, automatically it has to be all sunshine and roses, right?
Oh my gosh. If only, huh? If like every follower was like $1 in the bank account or whatever. Wouldn't that be something else?
Please.
Yeah, yeah.
Truly.
I'm waiting.
Truly.
Like Mark Zuckerberg, my account number is ready to go. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
It's like, I try not to take it incredibly seriously. My follower number is, you know, something that's excellent. I'm happy with it, but it's something that I've grown over literally maybe 6 years of just like consistent work, like, you know, post after post after video. And that, you know, there was 1 or 2 videos that definitely bumped it up a very notable amount. And I always appreciate that. But, you know, before I posted, you know, that video here or there or whatever, I never knew that that would be the result. And it's something that I never want to actively expect. I don't ever want to have high expectations of, you know, social media and the followers that I have. I don't want to take it for granted. And, you know, the large follower number, delightful, but at the end of the day, it's not the be all end all. It may open a door or two, which I'm very appreciative of, but the connection with the people who follow you at the end of the day, that's the more important thing. The people that, you know, they comment on your stuff, they share your stuff, they leave you little notes in their orders saying how much they appreciate your work. Like, that's the stuff that I care about at the end of the day. So
yes,
yeah, it's as far as my relationship with social media, it's just a very like, I appreciate it as a vehicle to facilitate what I do. If we lived in like, you know, the 70s or something, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. That's for sure.
Even when I started, I opened my shop in 2006 in the olden days. And Twitter was new, you know, and that's what you would do. Instagram didn't exist. Yeah. And so I do think it's amazing the kind of outlet to get in front of your customers people have now. Like people starting now, I'm like, you don't even know.
You've got it all made.
I know. I was like, we would go into Etsy forums and like drop links to new products. Like that's how we would get our stuff in front of people.
That's so cute. That's like community. You get to like kind of connect to people with that way, you know? Like, of course the reach so much lower, but it's just like you make those connections that sometimes last for like years and decades. That stuff is always huge.
It's very cool. And to be honest, the engagement back then, like if I posted a link, just a link to a product, like I would sell a product. Like people would see it because people weren't used to like buying handmade stuff and cool stuff like that. Like it was a new thing. And then now you're like screaming into the void.
You do a shop update with like 12 new exciting products, and then it's just like, I got maybe 4 sales from that over the course of the day. And off we go. And we keep
Right.
working. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it is amazing the resources that everyone has now. Like, I do feel like the old maid. I'm like, you don't know how good you have it.
Oh yeah, no, like, you like, I'm not stepping on your name. 2006 Etsy forums is something you should put on your resume. But at times, I do still get that as well. Like, because I've been doing a lot more like art markets and conventions this past year. And I have,
Yeah.
you can't help but notice that, all of your like, I don't want to call them co-workers, but like the people, the artists that you're tabling with, the demographic does tend to skew like early 20s. And I love that for them. But I also like, oh, that's so interesting. And like, we are almost 30 here, and it's something that you just have that slight, just in the back of your brain. You're like, good to know, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can definitely.
Yeah, it is really interesting though, because the people that follow you, I feel like throughout the years are like kind of in your age bracket. Like anytime I would do surveys of my audience just to see, like where everyone was at, it was mostly people within my certain age bracket. Now we're all just kind of like aging together. So a lot of my audience is like 30s and 40s now. And I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah, the community's growing with you. They all get it. You post about your daily struggles, and they're like, "Girl, I know, I'm with you there. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
Lovely.
Right? Like, let me talk about the PT I had to do for my hip this year.
Oh, don't. I'm not there just yet, but I'm on the cusp. Like, I'm in that period where if you have like a bad bed base, you know about it. You know about it immediately. And so the morning stretches, they're in the rotation. Every once in a while I get like a TikTok about like, how to fix your lower back, and I'm just like locked in. I'm so interested. So
yes.
Yeah. I see it, don't worry.
It is rude how accurate the algorithms can get. And I'm like, please stop talking about perimenopause at this point, okay? I know I'm there, all right?
Yeah. You don't have to tag and drag me so hard, please. Just give me space.
Oh my god, tag and drag. That's amazing. That's my new favorite thing. I'm going to use that.
Oh, take it. Use it. Please be my guest.
It's so funny though, because I feel like a lot of artists and like some of the people I talk to, they get so bogged down with social media. They're like, I have to do all of my admin, all my creation, and now I have to like do all of my marketing and make videos and this and that. And part of me is like, you don't have to do too much. Because I always felt like whenever I would put the least amount of effort into something, that's what would do well.
Yeah, it's always those ones that you spend like 15 minutes on, and then it just like, it explodes and everyone gets so excited, and you're like, you look at the thing that you spent like 10 hours on, like, a week and a half ago that has like a quarter of the engagement. And it's just, that's the thing. It's like, that's why I don't take this entire like social media thing so seriously, because it's just like, the amount of effort that you put in it doesn't correspond to what you get out of it. So
no,
don't take it so seriously. Just don't worry about it. It's fine.
Just exactly. Yeah, like just put what you can out into the world, talk to your people, the people that follow you are going to be all about it. And that's amazing. Like they just want to hear from you. That's why I follow people. I'm like, what are you doing?
And then the people who don't want to see the things that you put out there, the like, the weird little side things, they leave. They weren't part of your like, your core demographic anyway. Like I have
men.
Yeah, like I have friends who freak out about, oh, I'm down like 50 followers. I'm down like, 180 followers or whatever. And it's like, they weren't going to do anything for you anyway, girlie. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
They weren't going to buy from you anyway, so like don't worry about them. The same thing with like email subscribers. I know like a lot of people that I would talk to with email lists, they're like, but I'm getting unsubscribes. And I'm like, okay, well that's less people you have to pay for in your thing, and they weren't going to buy from you anyway, so bye.
Yeah. Like the trash takes itself out. Wonderful. And we keep going. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. Yes, more room for the cool kids. That's what I have to say.
You got your audience, and we're jamming out. You don't have to worry about it.
That's right. I love it. I love that attitude. I feel like that is very Australian, though. I feel like Australians are much more chill than Americans in general.
Yeah. What's your take on that? I'm so curious. What's the vibe of the American scene?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the Australian media I consume. Everyone just feels a lot more relaxed and just happy to be there, not quite as bothered about little things, and Americans are always more, grow, faster, get it out. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah. I can't speak for the monolith of the 20 million people that live here, unfortunately, but yeah, no, for me personally, I guess it's just if it's small things that are outside of my control, I'm just gonna keep walking. I mean, also in my early 20s, 19, 20, 21, I would love a little bit of a spiral as a treat if, one thing didn't quite go my way. We love to experience the anxiety of a tiny, insignificant issue. But yeah, I think it also helps that, we've been in this game long enough that we've seen those speed bumps come up, and then we've gone over them, and then we keep going. So it's when you contextualize those kind of issues, you realize it's not that deep,
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And I feel like that's something a lot of people, especially in business too, and in art, because a lot of things oh, this release didn't go well, what do I do? And, people aren't responding to this thing. What do I do? And I feel like there is so much about learning how to just kind of roll with that and learn from it and then go from there, because you could sit and ruminate forever about what happened, but
yeah. It doesn't really do anything for you at the end of the day.
To do with your worth as a human, maybe that release just didn't do well. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's change something and do something different next time.
That's the thing that I always try to keep in mind. I put the effort that I can into the work that I put out there. I try to post and do everything that's within my control. But if something maybe isn't well received, I always just try to keep in mind that it's nothing personal. People are busy. The algorithm sucks, and we cannot control that no matter how much we like to pretend that we can. And it's just it's nothing personal. Just take, you put something out there, it didn't hit, try and repackage it, reformat into something different, a different, video, shorter video, carousel. There are so many ways you can reapply this same launch in different ways. And, maybe that one will hit different. It's, you just gotta you gotta adapt.
Yeah, I love that. And that also kind of speaks to the idea, and I know it's hard when you're the artist and you feel like you are harping on something for so long, but like you said, people are busy. Maybe someone didn't see that video about your release. Maybe they'll see the email that you send about it. Maybe you need to post about it again. It's never a one and done kind of thing. You can absolutely, like you said, just repackage it, put it out there, get it out in front of more people in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know.
As well, we were talking about the stress of losing followers or whatever. I remember talking to some people and they're so stressed about posting about the same thing a few times in a row, or twice a week for a few weeks maybe, and it's babe, I can assure you that maybe 90% of your audience hasn't seen any of the things you put out so far. You have an obligation to the people who follow you to scream from the rooftops about what you do. And if they hate that's out of your control. You don't need to stress about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's wild to me that people really won't see it, and you're the only one that sees, and you're oh my God, I'm screaming so much. And twice a week, please. The way I had my launch schedules for big launches, it was just post, story, post, email, post, story, like all this stuff. And I'm
It
like,
was so
I want to make sure because
good.
people are following. I don't want people to miss out. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of feedback that I get of people being
yeah.
like, I miss this, like, I miss this, like, art, like, I miss this this product. I miss you at, like, this market because I didn't hear about it. And it's just
Oh
like,
my gosh.
you have to just push it out there. Yeah, no, it's so
Yeah.
important.
Especially because you have a lot of kind of one-off things too. Like, I love the rugs that you make. They are absolutely gorgeous. I feel like they fit your style so perfectly. But if
Mm.
someone really wants that one that they saw, like, you got to get on it.
Yeah, she's handmade. There's only one of them, babes. That's the thing with original work, which I love to do when I put out there. There is only one of them. And even if you make, like, prints or however you reproduce, like rugs and craft work, if someone wants that one handmade, one of a kind thing, they have to be on it. And if they miss it, if you haven't posted enough about, your shop update or whatever, then like you get that pointed little like DM like 10 minutes after you launched and you're just kind of like, well, ain't that how it goes? Yeah.
I know. That's hard. What
Yeah.
made you want to start doing the rugs? Like, I love them, and I went through like an obsession. Like, I wanted to get the tufting gun and everything. Anytime I see a new craft, I'm like, oh, I could do that.
Yeah. No.
But yours are so cool, and I
Thank
love
you
seeing
so
your
much.
process. So I'd love to hear more about those.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was like everyone had their little COVID like hyperfixation more or less. That one I think was mine.
Yep.
Yeah, no, 'cause, like I was like scrolling through TikTok and getting just like all of a sudden this like rug making content hit my For You page and I was like, what is up with that? Never in my life had I heard about like rug making as a thing that you could just do in your home or
Yeah.
whatever. Insane behavior. And so I was like, that's cool. And I'm home and bored because like I don't know if you heard, but like Melbourne had very strict like lockdowns while the whole thing was
Did
happening.
they?
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
a like 5 kilometer radius that they were like, don't go out of this radius for a while. Like if you're doing your like morning walks,
Wow.
stay within the radius, babes. And it was like it wasn't forever.
Mm.
And like people hated it, but it was helpful in the way that it saved lives. But anyway, yeah, I was hanging out at home. All this content was coming over on my page, and from there, I think I like got my tax return for that year, which was like, I got a little bit back, which was exciting. And I was like, guess who is immediately into like 12 balls of yarn? There's a hand version you can do called like punch needling. And so I bought like,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And it's like, if anyone ever wants to do rug making, try punch needling first. That's the jumping in point. Because like the big gun, which is basically like a power tool, very intimidating, a bit
Yeah.
scary. And like the giant frame, it takes up a lot of room. But like the little punch needle stuff, you can just like, it's like, it can stow away. It's low commitment. So I got all that stuff, tried it out, and like I had fun with it. The response from my audience was like incredibly positive. Like I was honestly very surprised by the initial reaction to like kind of the rug stuff. Pleasantly surprised, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like, I was doing illustration and I was really enjoying that. But if I ever needed a little break, like break out the crafts, like make a little mini rug. And so yeah, I did like, the punch needle stuff for a little while. But eventually I was like, hey, she's a bit slow. You have to hand do every single loop, like, by yourself.
Yeah.
And a little mini rug, it can still take, 8 hours or something. Yeah, it's quite a process. And so I was like, hey, what if I really like this? I'm a full-time artist. What if I upgrade it a little bit? And so yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I fell into having like a whole rug frame in my garage with like the big one and so much more yarn than I ever know what to do with. I'm set for life potentially. But yeah, so anytime I have free time or I'm feeling kind of like stale on illustration work, it's so nice to be able to kind of like jump into a different medium that's still like it has everything that I want, the colors, the shapes, the texture is always really fun too. And yeah, it's a nice thing to mix it up a bit.
Absolutely. I feel like as people who have art as their main business, like your job is making art, there has to be a point where you can like kind of separate and do something just for you.
100%.
Even if it's making products that only you want and you're like, pretty sure nobody else will like this, but I'm making it for me. But like having a craft, like, yeah, like I love crocheting. I quilt now. Like there's all kinds of different crafts that are
Is
so
crochet like hard
like
into? Because I have so much yarn, and I'm like, the demons tempt me. You know what I mean?
yes. No, crochet. I learned on YouTube. You know,
Oh.
and like I made scarves. I was like a scarf junkie, and I still have so many scarves in my house.
Listen, you can have another and I'll come in.
Right? Yeah, crochet is super easy. I think it's really easy. Just find a good YouTube video. There's so many people out there now that have YouTube tutorials, and I like it. I tried knitting, but there was something about the two hands that it was just not clicking. I needed the one hook. Somehow that was better for my brain. So you could totally do that with your, oh my God, you would make the cutest scarves with the way you choose your colors and like all of your color blocking genius.
Listen, Becky, you were so right about that. I would make the cutest the cutest scarves. I have a Christmas break coming up. I am actually planning to take a little time off, which is very exciting. So who's to say what will come of that?
Yeah.
A little art, a little craft is a treat.
So do you take time off in December? I know a lot of artists kind of after like mid-December, they're like, you know what? It's up to the parcel gods now and I'm done.
Oh yeah. Like the thing, because I'm located in Australia and I do have a lot of international customers, a lot of people in the US, a lot of people like, UK, all over the place. It's like you guys have like mid-December as like kind of like parcel cutoff point. For me, it's maybe in about a week. I'd be like, this is when you need to get your orders in. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen, babe. So there's not like that sort of pressure. Like I would love to take the whole of December off. That would be hilarious and amazing. But if anything, there's like, there's Christmas markets that I've booked in for. So I've got those like at the start of December and kind of like almost halfway through December. I'm doing those. But then after that, it's kind of like a lot of places around here just like kind of just shut down for that week between Christmas and New Year's. And then a lot of people take, an extra week either before that or after that. So like I have a little like accounting software that shows kind of just like the trends of like how my year goes as far as like, revenue or whatever. So I've kind of looked at that and been like, hey, what are the quiet periods of the year, generally speaking? And just like made a little note to be like, hey, take some purposeful time off here and there.
It's so necessary for folks who work on their own, especially if they work out of their own house too. Like we could just keep going, but taking the intentional time to stop and rest, like it's hard and it has to be intentional.
Yeah, no, I am like, I'm a bit of a do as I say, not what I do person sometimes, as far as taking time off. It's definitely a thing that I can improve on. And so I think this past year for me has been like, all the art markets opened up and I've really been trying to like see what that direction looks like, really, really try to work with that a little bit more. And now that I have like a year of that experience, which has been excellent, it's really, really fun, exhausting, but really fun.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about it because you just started, really, right? Like these are kind of your first markets that you've done.
Yeah, well, like I did kind of, maybe I started maybe like 2018, 2019. I would do like one here and there, like maybe like every like 6 months. But literally like, 2020, like literally March 2020, I quit my job. like maybe 2 weeks before everything went down. Just because I was like, hey, I know it was like the timing was insane. But yeah, it was just like everything was kind of pointing towards like, get out of here and try this out. And then I was doing that for 2 weeks, and then like everything was just like, we're shutting down. And so that was the year that I was gonna start doing markets, but everything shut down. And even 2021, around here, like we had maybe it was like May, things started to open up again, but then like, you know, another wave happened and they were like, shut it back down, and things didn't start going properly again until maybe like December. So yeah, and then just picking up the pieces of everything, it was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it's really only been this year specifically that I was like, this is the year, like finally, finally, I'm gonna
it's time.
really, I know. She's had years to prepare at this point. So yeah, it's the year that I've really been specking into art markets, and it's been like super fun, super informative, so many lessons, but just like, yeah, it's been an interesting shift. Very like, you know, worthwhile if it's something that people want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, especially if, you know, online sales are down, you can always go to an art market and get to see people face to face. And I feel like I've always felt like even shows, if they didn't do well, like you still learn something from them. You still get yourself out in front of people. You still meet, you know, the people next to you. You make connections. And like you never really know what's going to come from a show. Like I had a show that was okay once, but I met someone who owned a shop and did consignment with my stuff for years. And like it was an amazing connection that I never would have gotten if I didn't go to that like show.
Yeah,
so
that's so exciting. That's the thing. Yeah, that's literally the thing. It's like no matter what you do, if as long as you're doing something, like we said before, it's always going to bring you, you know, it's going to bring something to your life. Like I remember doing a show, like it was like a little Christmas song or something. And I think I made maybe like $60, $90 throughout the entire day. So we could say it wasn't quite a success, but like I met artists in the local community at that event, and I still follow them to this day. I still love the work that they do. And it's just like, even if you don't maybe meet your cute little financial goals, you get to meet incredible people, and it's worth it. It's so worth it. Like I know those early mornings are rough, but it's worth it.
It's hard and you learn quick, and then there are times where your booth setup does not work, or you forgot full things of, you know, product, or one time I got there and my card reader didn't work, so I had to like troubleshoot for the first like 2 hours, and I was like,
oh my god, that's the nightmare. That's it. I had like a 15-minute at one point where the card reader like wasn't connecting properly. And even that, I was like, I was so sweaty. I was just like frazzled for hours after. But like, oh my gosh, you survived. You somehow survived.
Yes. Also, can I just say, venues need to have like the best Wi-Fi ever. Like, if you get there and your card reader and your phone is like struggling on the Wi-Fi, I'm like, what are we doing here, people?
Yep. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No. And like, Australia, I love this little country of mine, but also like our internet situation is not the strongest in the world. And so it's like when you have 400 artists in this like giant exhibition area, like sometimes literally like, you know, the 4G or whatever's happening, it's like it's fighting for its life to get that payment to go through, and you're just like, please, anything. I will give anything. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you think they figured it out by now, but you know,
you think I'm literally in a convention center. Like, why is this not working?
Yeah, why do we have the infrastructure from the 1970s, babes? It's fascinating.
Truly. Man, the show life is so good. It was so exhausting to me as an introvert. Like, eventually I had to cut down on shows, and I only did, there was like one that I would do in Austin with friends for a few years, and it was very small, like just folks that I knew and like really just people that knew us that came. And that was really special. Like putting on our own little thing was like really cool. And then we had like our yearly Blue Genie that I didn't actually have to go to. I just had to restock my stuff and then scoot out of there. So that was ideal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. The things where you just dump your product and you're like, thank you so much. And then you just skedaddle out of there. I love those. They're like,
Exactly.
it's so much fun. What was your like, when you were trying to do it consistently, what was your kind of like every once a month sort of thing, or like once every few months as far as markets go?
It was usually kind of seasonal. So there would be like a show in the summer, there might be one in the fall, and then definitely anything I could scoot into in the winter. But Austin was rife with stuff. There were a lot of shows that happened like every single week.
Oh
There
wow.
were like monthly things. They might not have had like the huge draw that some of the big ones did. So I would usually kind of stick to some of like your renegade craft fair kind of stuff, or like the big ones in the area just to make sure that I could like make my stuff back. I feel like there are a lot more now than there were when I was doing them. Like I still see people setting up and I'm like, oh, what is that one? Ooh, what is that? I haven't heard of that one. Like,
Oh, that's so
yeah, I'm like, I
exciting.
want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I
But
gotta
yeah,
say.
it was very seasonal.
Yeah, no, I gotta say though, like watching your videos of like even, when you were like setting up in like Austin and stuff and like the in-store stuff and like a market thing here and there. It just like it makes you want to go over there so bad. And like I just love local art scenes, you know what I mean? No, like no matter where they are, it's
Yes.
so exciting to see like
Yes.
what's around and like what people are seeing. Like, the way that I want to just jump on a plane and just like look at everything. It's so fun.
I know. It's hard being far away from Blue Genie because that's the one that I would do, like set up my booth and everything. And then I see all my friends setting up and I'm like, look at all their pictures. And I'm like, oh, but I want to go buy that. I want to go, like, where do I want to be in
So
there.
I want to grab it really quick. How far away are you from that at this
Right.
point? Is it like it's like a long drive? I could imagine.
It's a 4-hour plane ride. It took us with
What?
4 cats, one child, and 3 adults. It took us 4 days to drive from
Oh,
Texas up to Michigan.
oh, Michigan. Yeah, no, that's basically
Yeah.
opposite, huh?
Yeah, it's like it's always so much further east than I think. Like I assume like here's Texas in the middle, right? And I assume it's just like boop right there. I go, no, no, no. It's like over this way.
Yeah, you're going on a quest to get there at that point.
Yeah, my husband has to go back for work and I'm like, do you just want to scoot down to Blue Genie and get me some things?
Yeah, I'll make you a shopping list. You don't have to think about it. Don't worry about it.
Right. So I know you have, I don't know if it's consignment or not, but what is the shop? I know you just went and updated it where
Mm.
you have some product in a shop. Do you have more wholesale accounts in the area? I'm kind of curious about what the Melbourne scene is like.
Yeah, it's something that like so the one that I have at the moment, it's called Incubator. It's a very like it's kind of like a Melbourne institution
Yeah.
almost. What they do is you rent the space specifically, and then you just put in like whatever you want, and then you get the full amount
Yes.
from the product. So you're paying for the space, but the entire product cost it goes right back to you. Um, and
Yeah.
it's a
I
lovely
love that.
local. It's amazing. It's really great. Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like Artist Alley, but just like in a permanent physical shop. And they have like a
Yeah.
city central location, which goes a little bit more like fan art ish, like convention Artist Alley sort of thing. And then they have one in called Fitzroy that's a little bit more like slower art, like more kind of like original stuff. They kind of have like different vibes depending on which one you want to go to. And I love that.
Cool.
Like, yeah, it's like for me, it's about maybe like an hour and a half to like get there from where I am. So, I can't go there like crazy often. But
Yeah, it's a
for like the
hike.
restocks and stuff, it's excellent. It's so much fun. As far as like other consignment things, it's one of those ones that I want to get into, but I've been a busy little bee doing like, art markets and like shop updates and,
Yeah.
a silly little
Yeah.
collaboration with like brands and stuff here and there. So I want to get, but I'm only one gal. It's such a tragedy.
It's the truth. It's the
Yeah.
truth. We really have to pick and choose. That's why
Mm,
I feel like markets kind of went by the wayside for me, especially after I had my son, because I was like, this is just
yeah.
too much. So
Mhm.
we're going to do our retail, our wholesale, and then do some more content
Understandable.
creation here and there. And then even that kind of fell to the wayside after a while because it's like, what are you going to do?
It's
I got two
yeah.
hands.
Two hands, one child, and a whole business. Like, there's only so much of you to give, babe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. But then it's
Mhm.
fun because you get to pick what feels good and then you find the
Yeah.
balance that works for you. And sometimes it's hard to find that, but when you
Mhm.
get there, it can feel pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's pretty great. Yeah, no. Like, I do, if, art markets and my online store kind of like start to fade a little bit,
Yeah.
it is nice that I have the option of like, maybe reaching out to the like wholesale options instead. Because like I've been curating a list for maybe like the past like year and a half
Yeah.
maybe. Anytime I see another artist, like
Yeah.
they'll post like I've restocked at like this location here, I'll be like, noted, put it on my little list. And so like,
Yes.
even if I'm not
Yes.
like actioning it right now because like she's booked and busy, like in the future,
Yeah.
it's always an option. It's, just you make those little notes, little lists.
Absolutely.
Helpful.
Yeah. I had a whole little spreadsheet of all the places that I love that I wanted to reach out to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Fair available in Australia yet? It
That
should
like
be.
it's actually not, like I think it is, but I've applied for it like
Yeah.
twice now and haven't heard anything from them at this point. So I'm like, who knows what's happening there? You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
you know
I'll
what? I
just
need to have a word because I don't understand the criteria situation sometimes with fair. I'm like, what are you doing?
no. I see like like American friends of mine who do like the exact same thing that I do. They're like I see them pack their little wholesale orders on their TikTok videos. I'm like, I love that for you. And I was like, for me,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, I don't think so. So I mean, like,
But
whatever,
you can
like,
yeah, you can also when you have the time, when you
mhm,
have a minute, you can go through
mhm,
your list and just start calling or emailing your little
mhm.
folks and then you don't have to pay anyone a percentage. You get
That's
the full retail.
yeah, go direct to market, baby. We don't need to worry about the little middleman.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I would always have to jump through hoops too because if I had someone that was a wholesale account outside of Fair and then they
Oh,
ordered from Fair, you have to be like, I knew them before you. Okay. You need to
oh,
don't take your little percentage. Okay. These guys are on me.
oh.
All right.
Yeah, no, I've heard the percentage like cut that Fair takes. Like it's useful as a platform, absolutely, but I have heard it
Yeah.
is on the steeper side. So I'm like there's part of me that's a little bit miffed that I can't get into it for who knows what reason, but I'm also like, oh, could be worse.
No. Yeah, it's so true. It's so
Mhm.
true. I see the benefit because shops do come to you and like some people pay reps to like get their stuff in front of stores, but that's a whole other conversation. I think you do fantastic in wholesale, but also you might
Mm.
not vibe with it, and that's fine. You know, you gotta
I
find
I
what
like
works
the
well for
idea
you.
of it. It's just kind of like because I'm doing like that one in person one specifically, which I love and is excellent, but I
Mhm.
am clocking how much time it takes for me to kind of like individually package everything because I do a lot of like vinyl stickers, like great quality vinyl stickers that like I have taken so long to like actively source. Like package
Mhm.
all of them individually. I need to streamline the process somehow
Mm.
from like, it goes like
Can I?
plastic sleeve, little hand tag. Oh, do you have ideas?
Mm. I was gonna say, can I tell you a secret?
Please.
All of my wholesale individual stickers, they were just the sticker. I just sent them, like, you got to buy 6 of them, and here they are. And they would just put barcode on the bottom and display them as needed. But if I had like packages of like 4 stickers, those would go into like individual little, like a backing card, and then like the stickers and plastic and stuff. But yeah, it's actually, at least in the US, industry standard is you just send them the sticker. You don't even package the individual one.
Just chuck it out there and hope for the best. You know what? Like, that's something that I want to do.
Exactly.
So bad. Yeah. No, I'm like, I do want to just test it out for my next big restock or whatever. Or like, you know, maybe even not as big of a restock. Just like bring a little bit and just try it out. Like, keep them plain. Because like, they're so sturdy. I'm like, I probably don't need to actively put them in plastic as well. But it's just kind of like, I was looking around and it's like, everyone else is doing it. Maybe I need to do it too. But maybe I don't. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. We'll give it a try. We'll see how
give it a test. Yeah, give it a try. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll report back.
Yes. No, I want to know. I want to know how it goes. Because maybe they might. I did have, for a while, I was like really trying to reduce my plastic. So I had these cute little cards made with like the little sombrero cutout, and the pin would go on it, and I would just give it to shops. And some shops ask for no plastic, and I'm like, absolutely. But I took them to one of my favorite consignment stores, and they were like, no, we can't do that without plastic. I said,
wow. Okay. They really were just like, well, put it in the little bag.
Yeah, they're like, you need to do a lot more effort. And also, here are the stickers that you have to put on. I'm like, okay. I'll see you guys next week.
Okay, boss. Got noted. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, at least they made their needs known. You know what? I would prefer that over like a store being like, thanks, and then they're just cringing as they get your products and they never say anything. Like, that would hurt me more in the long run.
You know, that's very true. That is very true. And these are just, you know, it's the things you learn with each shop you're in or consignment stuff. You figure out what you like to do, and, you know, you might just hate the idea of just sending a sticker by itself. Like, you're like, I can't.
Until we try. That's it.
That's so true. Again, you gotta do it. You gotta do the thing, and then you figure it out.
You gotta test it out. We'll just see how it goes from there.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Renata, you are an absolute treat. Is there anything you wanted to like plug? Anything you want to like tell people about?
I mean, like my online store, like it still feels new to me since I was on Etsy for like 5-6 years, but like my proper like online store with like everything, she's there. She has all my new products, and I think it's gorgeous. So, you know, if anyone wants to go there, look at my stuff, feel free. Otherwise, like I'm just always on social media doing my little thing. I pop up at art markets around Melbourne and around Australia. If you want to find me, look at my social media. That's it. Gremren everywhere and anywhere.
Absolutely. I love it. I love that name too. It makes me giggle every time. It's perfect.
Yeah, just a silly little gremlin, my name, smash them together. We get like you get that little thing.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Yay. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. You are a gem, and I'm so glad that our internet worlds collided.
Yes, no, it was lovely. Thank you so much for having me. It was bound to happen eventually.
Right. Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Well, thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.
Hi, friend. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And please check out gremren.com. Check out Renata everywhere she is on the internet. We have links to everything. So I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next week.